dodge.
And he'd go on killing unless he's stuffed.
Yeah, just like one of them hound dogs.
James Arness didn't just play Marshal Matt Dillon for 20 years. He became the living embodiment of frontier justice through the authentic firearms he carried. While other actors treated guns like disposable props, Arness studied historical weapons and demanded period-correct authenticity that most viewers never noticed. Today, we're revealing the 11 legendary firearms that made James Arness the most believable lawman in television and film history. Number 11. Remington Model, 1858. New Army Revolver, the Gunsmoke. Beginning. We have the Remington Model 1858 New Army Revolver, a weapon that appeared in early Gunsmoke episodes and demonstrated Arness's commitment to historical accuracy from day one. This wasn't the flashiest revolver in television history, but it was the kind of practical, reliable sidearm that real frontier lawmen trusted with their lives. The Remington Model 1858's 44 caliber chambering fires a 220 grain lead ball at 800 feet per second, delivering 312 foot-pounds of stopping power. Weighing 2 pounds 11 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this cap and ball revolver featured the strongest frame construction of any percussion revolver in its era. Arness's Marshal Dillon carried this weapon in several first-season episodes, and the choice reveals a character who values reliability over flash. The Remington's solid frame design made it significantly stronger than Colt's open-top percussion revolvers. When you're facing armed outlaws in Dodge City, structural integrity could mean the difference between justice and a pine box. Over 132,000 were produced between 1863 and 1865 for Union forces. Many found their way west after the war, carried by veterans who'd learned to trust the Remington's rugged construction. Watch Arness's handling in those early episodes. His draw is deliberate, his aim steady, his trigger discipline perfect. This wasn't an actor playing cowboy. This was portraying a man who understood that every shot carried moral and legal consequences. Original Remington Model 1858 revolvers now sell for $2,000 to $5,000 at auction, while reproductions run $400 to $700. Number 10. Colt Walker, the hand cannon. At number 10, we have the Colt Walker revolver, and when James Arness held this massive handgun on screen, audiences understood they were watching a man who could handle the most powerful weapons of the frontier era. This wasn't just another prop. It was a statement about raw power in the hands of a righteous lawman. The Colt Walker's 44 caliber chambering fires a 220 grain bullet at 1,000 feet per second, generating 490 foot-pounds of devastating energy. Weighing 4 pounds 9 ounces and measuring 15.5 inches long with a 6-round capacity, this was among the most powerful handguns of the 19th century. Arness used the Walker in several made-for-television movies, and the weapon's presence amplified his already commanding 6-foot 7-inch frame into something truly intimidating. The Walker was designed in collaboration with Texas Ranger Captain Samuel Walker, who wanted a handgun powerful enough to stop a charging horse or enemy at close range. The result was a hand cannon that could deliver rifle-like power in a sidearm package. Only about 1,000 Colt Walkers were manufactured in 1847, making originals among the most valuable collectible firearms in existence. This weapon proved that revolvers could deliver serious stopping power, paving the way for the legendary firearms that would follow. The massive powder charge of 50 to 60 grains made the Walker prone to cylinder explosions if overloaded. Real frontier lawmen who carried Walkers loaded them carefully and maintained them religiously, knowing that mechanical failure meant certain death when facing multiple armed opponents. When Arness drew the Walker on screen, that metallic weight and massive frame telegraphed absolute authority. This wasn't a gun for warning shots. It was an instrument of final judgment that demanded respect from every outlaw who saw it. Original Colt Walker revolvers command $200,000 to $400,000 at auction. Modern reproductions run $400 to $600. Number 9. Winchester Model 1873, the gun that won the West. Number 9 brings us to the Winchester Model 1873. the rifle that earned the nickname the gun that won the West. And in James Arness's hands, it became the visual symbol of frontier law enforcement. This lever-action rifle appeared throughout Gunsmoke's 20-season run and in multiple television movies, representing the evolution of repeating firearms technology. The Winchester Model 1873's 4440 Winchester chambering drives a 200-grain bullet at 1,190 feet per second, delivering 630 foot-pounds of stopping power. Weighing 7 to 8 pounds with a tubular magazine holding 15 rounds, this lever-action rifle put unprecedented firepower in the hands of lawmen and settlers. Arness's Marshall Dillon reached for the Winchester when situations required more range and power than his sidearm could deliver. The 4440 cartridge became the most popular sporting cartridge of the late 19th century because it worked in both rifles and revolvers. This interchangeability meant frontier lawmen could carry one ammunition type for multiple weapons, a practical advantage that saved lives. Winchester manufactured over 720,000 Model 1873 rifles between 1873 and 1919, making it one of the most successful firearms in American history. The rifle's toggle-link action provided smooth, reliable operation even under harsh frontier conditions. Watch how Arness operates the lever action in chase scenes and standoff situations. His movements are fluid but controlled, chambering each round with deliberate precision. The lever design allowed mounted operation, making it ideal for posses pursuing outlaws across open territory. The Winchester appeared in Gunsmoke's most memorable episodes, including several where Marshall Dillon faced multiple armed opponents. When Arness shouldered that Winchester, audiences knew serious business was about to commence. Original Winchester Model 1873 rifles sell for $3,000 to $10,000, while reproductions run $1,000 to $2,000. Number 8. Smith & Wesson Schofield, the cavalry choice.
Unless he's stuffed.
Yeah, just like one of them hound dogs that gets that taste of blood in their mouth and just go.
At number 8, we have the Smith & Wesson Schofield revolver, a weapon that appeared in several Gunsmoke episodes and demonstrated Arness's deep understanding of frontier firearms history. This top-break revolver holds a special place in Western history, as the weapon many professional gunfighters and cavalry officers preferred over the famous Colt single-action army. The Schofield's 45 Schofield chambering fires a 230-grain bullet at 730 feet per second, delivering 270 foot-pounds of reliable stopping power through barrels ranging from 5 to 7 inches. Weighing 2.5 pounds with a 6-round capacity, this revolver's revolutionary top-break design allowed simultaneous ejection of all spent cartridges with a single motion. Arness's choice to carry the Schofield in certain episodes reveals Marshall Dillon's professional evolution and tactical thinking. While Colt users fumbled with loading gates and ejector rods, Schofield shooters could break open the action, dump all 6 spent cases, reload, and snap the gun shut in half the time. In sustained gunfights with multiple opponents, this speed advantage often proved fatal to outlaws. The United States Army purchased 8,285 Schofields between 1875 and 1877, and many cavalry officers preferred them over the standard-issue Colt. The shorter 45 Schofield cartridge was specifically designed for reliable extraction, ensuring the top-break mechanism functioned flawlessly even under battlefield stress. The cavalry's endorsement gave the Schofield instant credibility among professional gunfighters. Watch Arness's reloading technique with the Schofield in several key episodes. That distinctive break-open action and the cascade of empty brass hitting the ground became visual shorthand for a lawman who'd prepared for extended combat. The Schofield's automatic extraction system eliminated stuck cases that could turn a reliable weapon into a useless club. Smith & Wesson manufactured only about 9,000 military Schofields and perhaps another 30,000 commercial versions, making originals relatively scarce. The Schofield appeared in episodes where Marshall Dillon faced organized gangs or multiple armed opponents. The fast reload capability provided tactical flexibility that the more famous Colt couldn't match. Original Smith & Wesson Schofield revolvers, especially military-marked examples, now fetch $4,000 to $15,000 at auction, while quality reproductions run $900 to $1,400. Number 7. Sharps Model, at 1874 rifle, the Buffalo gun. Number 7 takes us to the Sharps Model on 1874 rifle. And when James Arness shouldered this precision instrument, audiences witnessed frontier law enforcement at extreme range. This single-shot rifle appeared in several television movies and special episodes where long-range accuracy became the difference between justice and tragedy. The Sharps Model, 1874's chambering options ranged from 4490 to 5110, but the 4570 government cartridge was most common in law enforcement use. Firing a 405-grain bullet at 1,350 feet per second, delivering 1,640 foot-pounds of devastating energy, this rifle could reach out and touch targets at ranges exceeding 1,000 yards. Arness used the Sharps in scenarios requiring surgical precision, situations where innocent lives hung in the balance, and only a perfect shot could resolve the crisis. The Sharps falling block action provided rock-solid lockup that guaranteed consistent accuracy, while the heavy octagonal barrel dampened recoil and reduced barrel harmonics that could throw shots off target. Professional buffalo hunters used Sharps Model 1874 rifles to harvest millions of bison on the Great Plains, sometimes making successful shots at ranges exceeding 1,000 yards. That legendary accuracy wasn't Hollywood exaggeration. In the hands of skilled marksmen using Vernier Tang sights, the Sharps was genuinely capable of minute-of-angle accuracy at extreme distances. The Sharps rifle represented a different kind of frontier law enforcement, situations where stealth and precision replaced the close-quarters violence of street gunfights. When Arness chambered that massive cartridge and settled behind the Sharps sights, audiences knew they were watching a thinking lawman who understood that sometimes the best gunfight is the one your opponent never sees coming. The single-shot falling block action forced deliberate shot placement, making every trigger pull a conscious decision. There was no spray and pray with the Sharps, just calculated precision delivered with bone-crushing power. Real frontier lawmen who carried Sharps rifles were usually older, experienced officers who'd learned that patience and accuracy beat speed and volume. Watch Arness's body language when using the Sharps in those special episodes. His breathing slows, his movements become deliberate, and every muscle focuses on making that one perfect shot. Original Sharps Model 1874 rifles now command $8,000 to $20,000 at auction, while quality reproductions run $2,500 to $4,000. Number 6. Colt Model 1860, Army, the Civil War veteran. At number 6, we have the Colt Model 1860 Army revolver, a weapon that appeared in several Gunsmoke flashback episodes and television movies dealing with the Civil War's lasting impact on frontier communities. This percussion revolver represented the transitional technology between muzzle-loading firearms and modern metallic cartridge designs. The Colt Model 1860 Army's .44 caliber chambering fires a 220-grain lead ball at 900 feet per second, delivering 396 foot-pounds of close-range stopping power through its 8-inch barrel. Weighing 2 pounds 11 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this streamlined revolver improved on earlier Colt designs while maintaining the open-top frame construction that characterized all Colt percussion revolvers. Arness carried the Model 1860 Army in episodes dealing with Civil War veterans struggling to adapt to frontier life, and the weapon's presence connected characters to that devastating conflict's lasting trauma. Over 200,000 Colt Model 1860 Army revolvers were manufactured between 1860 and 1873, seeing extensive service with Union forces and continuing in frontier use long after metallic cartridge revolvers became available. The Model 1860's rounded barrel and rebated cylinder created the most aesthetically pleasing profile of any Colt percussion revolver, but beauty took second place to functionality. The improved arbor design provided better cylinder alignment than earlier models, improving accuracy and reliability. Real Civil War veterans often kept their trusted Model 1860s even after cartridge revolvers became common, valuing the known reliability of weapons that had kept them alive through years of combat. Watch how Arness handles the Model 1860 in those period episodes. His loading process is methodical, carefully measuring powder charges, seating balls, and applying percussion caps with the practiced ease of a man who'd performed these actions thousands of times under battlefield conditions. This attention to historical detail elevated Gunsmoke above typical television westerns. The Colt Model 1860 Army represented a generation of warriors who'd seen the worst of American conflict and carried that experience to the frontier. In Arness's hands, this revolver told stories about men haunted by war, seeking redemption, or running from memories in the lawless territories. Original Colt Model 1860 Army revolvers now sell for $2,000 to $6,000 depending on markings and condition, while quality reproductions run $300 to $500. Number 5. Winchester Model 1892 The Lawman's Lever Gun. Number 5 brings us to the Winchester Model 1892. John Moses Browning's improved lever-action design that became the working lawman's favorite carbine. James Arness carried this rifle throughout Gunsmoke's later seasons and in multiple television movies, and its presence signaled the show's commitment to evolving historical accuracy. The Winchester Model 1892's 4440 Winchester chambering drives a 200-grain bullet at 1,190 feet per second through its 20-inch barrel, delivering 630 foot-pounds of reliable stopping power. Weighing just 6.5 pounds with a 10-round tubular magazine, this lever-action carbine provided the perfect balance of power, capacity, and handling for mounted law enforcement. Arness's Marshal Dillon reached for the Model 1892 when pursuing outlaws across open country or responding to situations requiring sustained firepower. Browning's improved design eliminated the toggle-link system of earlier Winchester models, replacing it with vertically traveling locking bolts that provided smoother operation and greater strength. The result was a rifle that worked flawlessly under the harshest frontier conditions. Winchester manufactured over 1 million Model 1892 rifles and carbines between 1892 and 1941, making it one of the most successful firearms in American history. The shorter carbine configuration with its 20-inch barrel became the standard for law enforcement, providing rifle accuracy while maintaining maneuverability for mounted use. Watch Arness's handling of the Model 1892 in chase sequences and standoff situations. His lever manipulation is smooth and practiced, chambering each round without breaking his sight picture. The exposed hammer allowed thumb cocking while maintaining a firing grip, enabling faster follow-up shots than toggle-link Winchesters. The Model 1892 appeared in some of Gunsmoke's most iconic action sequences, including several episodes where Marshal Dillon single-handedly faced overwhelming odds. The rifle's 10-round capacity provided sustained firepower that kept opponents pinned down while civilians escaped to safety. Real frontier lawmen loved the Model 1892 for its reliability and power, but also for its shared ammunition compatibility with 4440 revolvers. This interchangeability simplified logistics for rural sheriffs and marshals operating far from supply lines. Original Winchester Model 1892 carbines now sell for $2,000 to $5,000, while quality reproductions run $800 to $1,200. Number 4. Colt Dragoon, the Texas Ranger Special. At number 4, we have the Colt Dragoon revolver, one of the heaviest and most powerful handguns of the frontier era. James Arness carried various Dragoon models in television movies dealing with Texas Rangers and early frontier law enforcement, and the weapon's massive size perfectly matched his commanding physical presence. The Colt Dragoon's .44 caliber chambering fires a 220-grain lead ball at 1,000 feet per second through its 7.5-inch barrel, delivering 490 foot-pounds of devastating close-range power. Weighing over 4 pounds fully loaded with a 6-round capacity, this percussion revolver was designed specifically for mounted cavalry and law enforcement who needed a handgun powerful enough to stop horses or armed opponents at close quarters. Arness used the Dragoon in several period pieces set in the 1840s and 50s, and the weapon's presence immediately established his character's professional credentials. The Dragoon was developed in response to lessons learned during the Mexican-American War, where the smaller Patterson revolvers proved underpowered for military service. Captain Samuel Walker's recommendations influenced the design, though the Dragoon models that followed the Walker incorporated refinements that improved reliability and reduced weight. 3 distinct Dragoon models were manufactured between 1848 and 1860, with approximately 20,000 total production. First model Dragoons featured oval cylinder bolt cuts, while second models had rectangular cuts. Third model Dragoons, the most common, incorporated a rounded trigger guard and other refinements that improved handling. Real Texas Rangers carried Dragoons throughout the 1850s, establishing the weapon's reputation for stopping power and reliability. Watch Arness's two-handed grip when firing the Dragoon in those television movies. The massive weight and recoil required different handling than lighter revolvers, and his authentic technique showed audiences a man who understood the weapon's characteristics intimately. The Dragoon's 4-pound weight helped absorb recoil, but that same weight made it slower to draw and more fatiguing to carry during extended patrols. The Dragoon represented frontier law enforcement in its rawest form, an era when Texas Rangers and early marshals faced overwhelming odds with minimal backup and maximum courage. In Arness's hands, this hand cannon became a symbol of the kind of men who brought law to lawless territories through sheer determination and superior firepower. The massive powder charge of 50 grains gave the Dragoon rifle-like power in a handgun package, but also made cylinder explosions a real danger if weapons weren't properly maintained. Professional lawmen who carried Dragoons inspected their weapons daily, knowing that mechanical failure meant certain death when facing Comanche raiders or Mexican bandits. When Arness drew the Dragoon on screen, that metallic weight and massive frame projected absolute authority. This wasn't a weapon for subtle intimidation or warning shots. It was an instrument of final judgment that ended confrontations permanently. Original Colt Dragoon revolvers now command $5,000 to $20,000, depending on model and condition, while quality reproductions run $400 to $600. Number 3, Henry Rifle, the Yankee innovation. Number 3 brings us to the Henry Rifle, the revolutionary 16-shot lever action that changed frontier warfare forever. James Arness carried this weapon in several Gunsmoke episodes and television movies dealing with the Civil War era and its immediate aftermath, and the Henry's presence signaled characters who valued firepower over tradition. The Henry Rifle's 44 Henry rimfire chambering fires a 200-grain bullet at 1,200 feet per second through its 24-inch barrel, delivering 640 foot-pounds of energy. Weighing 9.5 pounds with a 15-round tubular magazine, this lever-action rifle could fire 28 rounds per minute, devastating firepower that earned it the Confederate nickname, "That damn Yankee rifle you load on Sunday and shoot all week." Arness used the Henry in episodes dealing with Civil War veterans adapting to frontier life, and the weapon's presence created fascinating historical tension. This was the rifle that gave Union forces a decisive technological advantage, yet many former Confederates recognized its superiority and adopted it for frontier use after the war. The Henry represented pragmatism over pride, functionality over loyalty. Benjamin Tyler. Henry patented his design in 1860, and approximately 14,000 rifles were manufactured before production ceased in 1866. The exposed tubular magazine running beneath the barrel made the Henry instantly recognizable, while the toggle-link action provided smooth, reliable operation that worked even under battlefield conditions. The brass frame earned the rifle its Yellow Boy nickname, though later Winchester models would make that term more famous. Watch Arness's rapid-fire sequences with the Henry in those Civil War-era episodes. His lever manipulation is smooth and practiced, chambering each round without breaking his sight picture. The Henry's superior firepower allowed single operators to face multiple opponents with reasonable odds of survival, a tactical advantage that frontier lawmen appreciated deeply. The Henry appeared in several Gunsmoke episodes where Marshal Dillon faced organized gangs or large groups of armed outlaws. The 15-round capacity provided sustained firepower that kept opponents pinned down, while civilians escaped or reinforcements arrived. When you're the only law within 50 miles, that magazine capacity becomes the difference between heroism and a tragic telegram to your family. The Henry's influence extended far beyond its relatively short production run. Its lever action mechanism and tubular magazine design established the template for Winchester rifles that would dominate American firearms for generations. Original Henry rifles now command $25,000 to $50,000 at auction, making them among the most valuable collectible firearms in existence. Quality reproductions run $1,000 to $1,500. Number 2. Winchester Model, 1866. Yellow Boy, the frontier workhorse. At number 2, we have the Winchester Model 1866. Yellow Boy, the rifle that brought industrial-age firepower to the frontier and established Winchester's legendary reputation. James Arness carried this distinctive brass-framed lever action throughout multiple Gunsmoke seasons, and its presence signaled the show's commitment to historical progression and authentic period details. The Winchester Model 1866's 44 Henry rimfire chambering pushes a 200-grain bullet at 1,125 feet per second through its 24-inch octagonal barrel, creating 560 foot-pounds of frontier justice. Weighing 9¼ pounds with a 15 to 17 round tubular magazine capacity, depending on configuration. This lever-action rifle gave repeating devastation that made single-shot opposition obsolete overnight. Arness's Marshal Dillon reached for the Yellow Boy when facing situations requiring sustained firepower at moderate ranges. The Winchester Model 1866 improved on Henry's design by adding a loading gate on the receiver's right side, eliminating the exposed magazine tube that made the Henry vulnerable to damage. This simple but crucial modification made the Winchester far more durable for frontier service. Oliver Winchester's company manufactured approximately 170,000 Model 1866 rifles and carbines between 1866 and 1898, establishing Winchester as America's premier rifle manufacturer. The distinctive brass frame gave better corrosion resistance in the harsh alkali dust and extreme temperature changes of the Southwest, while also creating the iconic golden appearance that gave the rifle its Yellow Boy nickname. Watch Arness's handling of the Yellow Boy in episodes dealing with early Dodge City history and the immediate post-Civil War period. His liver manipulation is smooth and practiced, chambering each round without breaking his sight picture. The improved loading gate allowed topping off the magazine during lulls in combat, a tactical advantage that the Henry's exposed tube couldn't match. The Yellow Boy appeared in some of Gunsmoke's most historically significant episodes, including several dealing with the cattle trade's establishment and early conflicts between ranchers and farmers. The rifle's 17-round capacity provided sustained firepower that kept rustlers and raiders at bay, while settlements established law and order. When civilization hung by a thread, that magazine capacity became the difference between survival and massacre. Real frontier lawmen and settlers valued the Yellow Boy for its reliability and firepower, but also for its ability to function under conditions that would disable lesser weapons. The simple toggle link action continued operating even when fouled with dust, sand, or powder residue. Professional users learned to trust the Winchester's mechanical simplicity, knowing that fewer moving parts meant fewer potential failures. When Arness shouldered the Winchester Model 1866, audiences witnessed frontier law enforcement in transition, as the Old West's single-shot weapons gave way to repeating firearms that would define the next era. Original Winchester Model 1866 rifles now sell for $8,000 to $20,000, depending on configuration and condition, while quality reproductions run $1,000 to $1,500. Number 1. Colt Single Action Army, the legendary peacemaker. Here stands the firearm that made James Arness immortal and defined frontier law enforcement for generations of television viewers worldwide. Marshal Matt Dillon's Colt Single Action Army wasn't just the most famous revolver in television history. It was the weapon that transformed James Arness from actor into the living embodiment of frontier justice, creating a character so believable that 20 years and 635 episodes couldn't diminish his authority. The Single Action Army's 45 Colt chambering drives a 255-grain bullet at 860 feet per second through barrels ranging from 4 3/4 to 7.5 inches, delivering 420 foot-pounds of bone-crushing stopping power. Weighing 2.5 pounds with a 6-round capacity, this single-action revolver demanded deliberate intent and moral responsibility from every man who drew it. You couldn't spray bullets in panic. Each shot required deliberately cocking the hammer, carefully aiming, and accepting full moral responsibility for the consequences. Arness carried various single-action army configurations throughout Gunsmoke's remarkable 20-season run, but the 7.5-inch barrel cavalry model became most closely associated with Marshall Dillon's character. This wasn't just about barrel length. It was about the kind of man who carried enough gun to get the job done without resorting to quick-draw theatrics. The longer barrel provided superior accuracy and reduced muzzle flip, allowing faster, more precise follow-up shots. Between 1873 and 1941, Colt manufactured over 357,000 single-action Army revolvers, but none achieved the legendary status of Arness's screen guns. The Colt's single-action mechanism forced conscious decision-making that separated heroes from villains. Marshall Dillon never drew his weapon casually. Every time that Peacemaker cleared leather, audiences knew serious business was about to commence. Watch Arness's carry position and draw technique throughout Gunsmoke's 20 seasons. His holster rides high on his right hip, canted slightly forward for a smooth, controlled draw. His hand doesn't slap leather. It moves with deliberate authority, closing around the grip with practiced certainty. The thumb naturally finds the hammer, cocking it as the barrel clears the holster. The whole motion flows like water, smooth but unstoppable. The Colt single-action Army appeared in virtually every Gunsmoke episode, making it the most frequently seen firearm in television history. But the weapon never became commonplace because Arness treated it with constant respect. The Peacemaker in his hands wasn't a tool for intimidation or casual threats. It was an instrument of last resort, drawn only when all other options had failed and justice required final enforcement. Here's what most viewers never realized. Arness worked closely with Gunsmoke's armorers to ensure his weapons functioned authentically, insisting on historically accurate loading techniques and reload procedures even in scenes where such details weren't necessary for plot purposes. This commitment to authenticity elevated the show above typical Western productions and created a standard that influenced every television Western that followed. The single-action Army's design brilliance lies in its elegant simplicity. Just 3 moving parts in the action, a design so robust that properly maintained examples continue functioning after more than a century of service. Real frontier lawmen valued this reliability above all else, knowing that mechanical failure could cost their lives when facing armed outlaws. The psychological impact of the Colt single-action Army extended beyond its mechanical capabilities. The deliberate cocking action created a distinctive metallic click that announced deadly intent to everyone within earshot. When Arness thumbed that hammer back, outlaws understood their options had just narrowed to surrender or die. Original Colt single-action Army revolvers from the first-generation production, 1873 to 1941, now sell for $3,000 to $15,000, depending on configuration, condition, and provenance. James Arness's legendary firearms reveal a truth that most television westerns never understood. The weapons a lawman chooses define not just his capabilities, but his character, his values, and his understanding of frontier justice's terrible responsibility. From the working reliability of the Yellow Boy to the moral authority of the Peacemaker, each firearm represented a different aspect of law enforcement's evolution during America's wildest era. What separated James Arness from other television cowboys was his genuine respect for firearms history and his understanding that weapons tell stories more effectively than dialogue ever could. These weren't just props chosen by studio armorers, they were carefully selected historical artifacts that reflected authentic frontier choices and demonstrated the practical realities of maintaining law and order in lawless territories. Arness succeeded where other actors failed because he understood that authenticity isn't about looking tough or drawing fast. It's about respecting the tools that shaped American history and the men who wielded them with deadly purpose and unwavering moral conviction. He didn't just carry these weapons, he became their living embodiment, transforming steel and lead into instruments of justice that defined television's longest-running Western drama. 20 years and 635 episodes proved that authentic respect for firearms history creates characters that transcend their era and influence generations. James Arness's Western guns remain what he made them, not just props or period details, but essential elements of the most believable lawman television ever produced. Which James Arness weapon impressed you most? Drop a comment below with your favorite, hit subscribe, and that notification bell for more authentic deep dives into the firearms that built television history.